Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 113. It's a lucky one. The summer of 2026 has arrived, and that means it is time for Ghost Machine's first official crossover, The Unbelievables. The event features the Rocketfellers, Hornsby and Halo, and the $1 Trillion Kid. We thought it only appropriate to ring in this momentous event with another fantastic creator interview. I'm Snoggle, and as usual, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Nick. My dear, would you mind telling us about our esteemed guest?
It would be my pleasure. He's a Danish comic book artist who got his start by working on DC's Vertigo line on such titles as The Dreaming, Animal Man, Books of Magic, Hellblazer, and Preacher, just to name a few. As his career progressed, he worked on DC's JSA with Jeff Johns, as well as The Light Brigade and The Mighty with Peter Tomasi, amongst many more fan favorites like JLA and The Flash. He's also responsible for the art in several issues of the Hellboy spin-off BPRD, which is one of my favorite series of all time. He's the co-creator, artist, and inker on Hornsby and Halo. It's Peter Snejbjerg. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're so ecstatic to have you. So you're coming to us from where in the world today?
I'm in Copenhagen, in Denmark.
Copenhagen.
So I'm on the other side of the Atlantic.
That's awesome. Well, we're ecstatic to have you. We're huge fans, and we're ready to interrogate you thoroughly today.
Bring it on.
All right. Well, I did some research about you, and I found something really cool. I found that you've been quoted as saying that you began drawing comics before even learning to read or write. So it sounds like has it been a lifelong passion for you, literally?
Yes, it has. It's strange to think about, but it actually has. And I think that quote is true. I think the first comics I did, my mom was hand lettering them as I was making up the dialogue. That's why I know it must have been before I could write myself.
Oh, that's so cute. Your mom helped you?
Yeah. I think that was very nice of her. It probably took a long time as I was probably making up the story as we went along, and maybe changed my mind a few times, probably.
Were comics prevalent where you grew up, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was in the 60s and the 70s. Comics were everywhere, more or less. But my exposure in the beginning was mostly to European comics, like Tintin, stuff like that. But I also grew up reading the Carl Barks Donald Duck stories, which I still think of as a big influence on me. I know they're actually not as well known in the States. They're probably better known in Europe, actually. But I still think that's one of the really big classical comic book epics of all time.
Donald Duck.
Yeah. Huh? The one by Carl Barks, those were fantastic.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. That's an epic.
You should. It's kind of a lost. I mean, I think in some places in Europe they're still very well respected, but in the US they're a bit lost, but they're really worth checking out.
Right on. Okay. Well, so that was when you were super young, obviously, but then we understand you went to is it the Colding Design School? Is that where you studied?
Yeah, I went to an art school. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the plan? Why'd you go to art school? Was it always to end up doing this, or what?
No. I had no idea that this could be what I guess you could loosely term a career. No, I flunked out of university and I had to do something. So I flunked out because I was drawing all the time instead of studying. So it was a sort of a natural progression to go to art school.
I'm assuming you did really well in art school then.
It was okay. I mean, it honestly, I don't know how it is nowadays, but I think the value of going to art school was that you met a lot of people who were also interested in art that you got to hang out with. The school in itself, I don't know how much you can I don't know how much they actually taught us, but it was some years, and you got your parents off your back, so they weren't, on your case about you just sitting and drawing all the time, and not you were taking an education, so people would leave you alone, and then you could do your thing, which was draw comics again.
Very smart.
So
I don't think it was smart. I don't think I knew how to do anything else really.
Well, then you follow what you're best at.
Yeah, I think you can say that. That's fair.
So from there, I mean, probably much later, you co-create Hornsby and Halo with Peter Tomasi.
Right.
You guys have worked together a lot before. So what's the origin of you guys beginning that partnership?
Yeah, I was thinking back, and I realized that actually I think the first time I worked with Pete, he was my editor on Starman. And that's where it started. Then after a while, he went freelance and started doing writing for DC Comics. Then we did a number of projects together of all kinds. And we've been working on and off since then on projects. And then there was a long time when we were sort of, I went off doing some other things and Pete went off doing some other. We still kept in touch and talking about stuff. But then one day he called me up with this Ghost Machine thing, which was obviously a whole new thing. Nobody had heard about it at that time. And I jumped at the chance.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Super exciting. So you worked with Peter on the Light Brigade and the Mighty, and those were like not creator, it was like independent ideas because they weren't part of the greater DC universe, but they were published through DC, right? But you also did some work with Jeff on those JSA runs, those early JSA runs. So what would you say is the biggest difference between working in that big two environment and working in Ghost Machine, even though you're still working with the same people?
Ghost Machine is a completely different setup. I mean, we're all the creators in Ghost Machine we're sort of we have a stake in the company. So it's in many ways it's a collective effort. Although we have each of us have our own series that we're working on, we are in a sense all working together, and we're all trying to bring this thing to make this thing take off. And we really have a stake in it. We're not going anywhere. It's not like we're going to be replaced by another art team in 3 months because somebody further up decides that's how we'll do it. It's occasionally, of course, there'll be changes made because things happen over the years, but the big difference is that it's our company and we're the creators. We're not just hired guns coming in to work on these concepts.
That speaks a great deal to a lot of other factors, though, as fans, because that means those of us who want to read ongoing comics, which is what you guys really emphasize. That's what you're doing. That's what your book is. That's what the other Unbelievables book, the Rocketfellers, is. That's what all most of the unnamed books are. Because you say that, it gives us confidence in the brand, in the longevity of and the consistency of the brand, that you're going to be still telling these stories with Peter in perpetuity, until, whatever happens. So
until they carry me out the door.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, yeah.
Well, how does it make you feel as a creator and a bit, a business person, if that's the right term, even knowing that what you mentioned, that someone up high might decide somebody else in a couple months should just come in and draw it instead? What kind of peace of mind does that give you, and how does that help your creative process, knowing that it's truly yours?
Well, it obviously means that you put a lot more effort into it. Everyone who works in comics always put the best into whatever they're working on, but the difference is that here you have an actual stake in the story and the characters. That it's not just about making it look good. It's about making the whole universe come alive. We have a much bigger investment, I would say. That's the big difference. This is I feel a real, maybe parasocial, but still a very real relationship with these characters that we're coming up with. Can you have that? Is that a parasocial? Is that the right word for that?
I'll take it. I know what you mean. It's like them in real life, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's something that we wanted to talk about too. Your book, Hornsby and Halo, is all about nature versus nurture. And every time usually we get a parallel of each family in each book and each Zach and Rose have these parallel experiences that are different, but are slowly becoming complementary in a cool way. But there is so much nuance and subtlety that you guys put into this comic book. It shows that you want it to be for those of us who have read all the issues. And like, there's stuff that if you start with issue 10, for example, and you haven't read the first 9 issues, you'll still be able to read it and it'll be great, but you'll get all these cool nuggets and things if you go back and read the previous issues up until that point. So you must feel that this is something that you plan to do for a long time.
Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this we're trying to make it as real as possible. We're trying to make that feeling of continuity, but also of real stakes. I mean, these in the characters and in the heart of the books is really what we're trying to bring. And it's great. Thank you for picking up on that, because that's actually really what I think makes this different from all the other projects I've worked on. That we have these characters are becoming very real. The world is becoming very real. We're slowly building this up, and you're adding little details, and that's it's great fun. But it's not just world building for world building's sake. It's all about in the end, it's all about the characters and bringing their story to life and bringing them to life. I don't think I've ever worked on anything that's been like that before, actually.
I think you guys, especially, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast ever, but every time
I do occasionally. Yeah.
Thank you.
Every time we review the Hornsby and Halo and we read through the issue and talk about it, I think it's masterful how realistic, even though it would seem over the top, like his parents wouldn't treat him so horribly. But it is so realistic to if those people existed and you really feel those emotions for him and feel bad for him. Like, that's just one thing that sticks out to us. Like, gosh.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously, I mean, I try to bring that to life, but it's obviously Tomasi who's super good at I mean, he's super good with that intimate close up of the emotional world of the characters. And I think the example with Zach's parents is really great. How another writer might just have made them over the top evil, but he just manages to hit a level that's realistic in an everyday sort of way, but still pretty horrible. I mean, that just makes it work and feel real. I mean, it's obviously slightly caricatured, but it's not that far off from something you could imagine happening in the real world. And that's what makes the emotional resonance, I think, work with you, because you can actually see this as, you don't lose the connection because it goes too far over the top. It's always just within the realm of possibility in terms of the emotions. They're very real.
The feeling that I got when I saw him cleaning the crematorium for the first time, right? Like, oh my gosh, like somebody really does that, right? Like that's really something that happens. I can't imagine making my child, on so many levels, right? But, yeah. Somehow you guys seem to come up with a slightly more abhorrent thing for those two parents to do each issue, just slightly worse. But yes, I agree. Never.
Yeah.
It seems like Zach and Rose, though, are starting to form more like a kinship, like as time goes on. And now that they've got Tucker and Pepper in the mix, like, do you see this evolving into like more of a team? Like, because some of these covers we're seeing, it's like the two pets and the two of them ready to rock. Like, where are they going with that? Are they going to spend a lot more time together?
Yeah. They're obviously, I think with the we sort of took a break, and now we're coming for a couple of months, and now we're coming back with this new season, so to speak, and starting out with the $1 Trillion Kid crossover. And right now we're working on this Rose and Zach end up teaming up. Teaming up is the wrong word, but they end up having some interaction with some of the other unbelievable characters that we've come up with. it's a new direction where they're sort of. I don't want to spoil too much. But Pete Tomassi has a line of what do you call it? He has obviously written out the next many issues, the sort of the overall, and it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. But right now we're going on that on the up, where they're going into they're moving a bit more out to the world, Rose and Zack, and they're starting to interact with some other characters, and the world is going to open up and seeming a bit bigger. And they're also obviously becoming a little older, so they're starting to deal with things a bit more maturely. But then stuff's going to happen, which
Very
is
exciting.
yeah, there's just stuff's going to happen. I promise.
Oh, no doubt.
I know when we read the episode, or I always say episode, read the book with Tucker and Pepper, I was like, I knew they could talk.
That's a good one.
Obviously, they're going to waste that much time on a couple of animals if they can't talk.
Right.
No, that's been part of it the whole time. It's sort of been, I mean, there's obviously many situations where we've been teasing that these are not just ordinary pets. They have some abilities. They have a role to play, obviously.
And of course, the cat was always going to be the like evil pet.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's a cat.
Right? That's what I'm saying. That's it's an interesting thing that you bring up. So in Ghost Machine #1, when you guys all did the previews of all the things, there's a bio page for Tucker and Pepper, and it says some things about their age. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it, but it says something about their ages and implies some things about their origins. But we've heard that, some of that stuff in that Ghost Machine #1 is really kind of more like conceptual. So like, can we as fans still go by that? I guess
I would take it with a grain of salt. I mean, somebody pointed out, and for instance, that Zack's mom changed between that, her looks changed completely between that first Zero, and so there were some things. And also, if you go back and notice, they weren't actually living in the funeral home at that time. This was I see this was kind of like a pilot episode. There's some things that, obviously most of it was kept, but there were some things that we changed when we had, you do a proof of concept and you look at it and you go, okay, this is great, but wouldn't it be great if we also had this thing? Or wouldn't it be even greater if we did this? So we had a time to do some adjustments. So I still really like the initial Ghost Machine, that book we did where all the short stories went, but it's still, take it with a grain of salt, because we didn't want to feel tied down in a project of this size. We didn't want to feel tied down in something that we did that was just meant as a teaser. That would be silly. We wanted to have the freedom to go out and expand if we wanted to, and we've done that.
Well,
I'm mixing it up because we just had the Zero episode, which was the startup episode after we had the break. So
that was a good issue. That was one of the best issues of the series. We really liked the Zero issue.
It was a lot of fun to do. It was fun to get to recap the whole thing and just sort of that was great. That was some really good stuff in that.
So suffice it to say for all the Ghost Machine fans out there that if they want to get the most up-to-date biographical information about characters from the world of the Unbelievables, like Hornsby and Halo and the Rocketfellers, they should get the Ghost Machine guidebook, all about them.
Exactly.
That would be the most up-to-date info.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Great. Well, you mentioned some lovable characters. We might not be able to even answer this question, and that's okay, but we really like the Adjudicator. We really like Sydney. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see his base of operations.
Yeah.
Like, is he ever coming back? Is he just going to roll around on the moon in the purple?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that he's not going to be stuck there forever, but it's kind of difficult to come back from the moon when you're encapsulated in a mega hard crystal and all that. It's going to take some doing, but there are characters working on that.
Yes. Right on.
Poor Sydney.
Yes.
Yeah, poor Sydney. He has a tough job.
Right? Fine. Well, obviously, we're talking about the Unbelievables. So the Family Odysseys is become the Unbelievables. And the map of this thing is just amazing. Like, there's more on the map of the Unbelievables than there is on the timeline for the Unnamed in the other Ghost Machine universe.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge what you guys have going on.
Yeah, that's why we spent the break between Hornsby Halo issue 13 and the 0 issue. Those months around Christmas were spent just everybody was just pitching in on these designs. Everybody from all the Ghost Machine writers and artists were basically coming together and just pooling a lot of ideas into this. So we have a big bucket of characters to take from when we need them. And there's a lot of great stuff. The stuff that we're doing now with Hornsby and Halo involves the band, the Dead Tones, which is going to be play a role in the Hornsby and Halo thing for a time. And at the same time, of course, we have the Hornsby and Halo and Rocketfellers crossover, which is also going to involve characters because there'll be the $1 trillion kids who's sort of the center binding all these things together in a storyline. It's a huge universe suddenly, and it's fun to do that after having spent the first issues of Hornsby and Halo really didn't leave the small town of Warwick, such as we conceptualized it, and suddenly we're moving out into the big world now. That's a big step. I feel really happy. I feel really lucky getting to work on with the Dead Notes, who of course are designed by Francis Manipul of the Rocketfellers fame. Because Francis is a brilliant designer, and it's really fun to get to play with the characters that he made up here in Pete Tomasi. And I think so. Right now, they're my favorites because they're the ones I'm working on. So I feel really lucky in that. I also think that the one that Ivan is working on, the ghost story, the mad ghost thing. Ivan is fantastic.
That's the one that takes place in like Idaho on the map, I think, or something like that on the out west, something like that.
Probably, yeah.
It's kind of the name is somewhat of an homage to the previous company's branding before it became Ghost Machine, right?
Yeah. But it doesn't have any ties. I don't think it has any ties to anything except it's just a little in joke that it's the name of the old company. Yeah.
You've mentioned Peter a lot. Obviously, you create a lot of these things with him, but you also mentioned he's doing these things in the greater universe. We've heard that artists and writers collaborate more and differently in your environment than in the environment like your typical big two or something like that. So can you tell us what it's like working with Peter? Like, how collaborative is it? You're on a different continent, how does that work?
We collaborate. In the day-to-day business, it's very much like, Pete writes the script, I do the art, but obviously we have sit downs where we do a Zoom thing, and we sit down and we talk about the issue and we talk about what we're going to do, and I call him up if there's any questions. So it's of course a much closer collaboration than it would have been if it was with the big two or whatever. We have Brian on as an editor, but we're more all on an equal level. Brian is not the boss of us. Obviously, he's there to help us facilitate our ideas. So it's not like he's not there to be an overseer who protects the properties. We're all on the same level, so to speak, and that's a big difference, of course.
Well, and from our standpoint as fans, when you talk about using the Francis designing the Dead Tones as an example, normally if DC or Marvel was going to have their typical summer crossover and maybe they were going to launch some new characters, then, they'd have somebody come up with the idea, then somebody else would draw it, and then they would just want to it would be up to their marketing team and all these other factors. And people that don't have the same vested interest that you guys do, where it's literally you guys are making the characters, you guys are marketing the characters, you're doing it together. And it's not just you've been hired to do a thing. To me, that speaks again to the longevity of your intent and why I should put your books on my pull list, because they're going to keep going. And if I want to enjoy it, I need to keep going too.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we're all. It's a capitalist society. We obviously have some market constraints that we have to work on. We're at the mercy of our readers, but
sure.
the thing that we're doing, the whole idea of it is exactly what you're saying, that this is a long-term investment, that we're really putting in everything we can to make something that's hopefully going to last for a long, long time, and that we all get to do, and that you can feel confidence as a readers in that we're going to stick with this and we're going to do the very best we can. There may be, like we just had a break between 13 and 0 and stuff like that. And sometimes the other books have had to take a skip month or whatever, because making a monthly comic book is really, really hard work. But on the other hand, you have that we actually are invested in this, and it's us doing it. It's not just it's not a corporate product. It's us, and it's the best that we can do. And hopefully the readers will appreciate that. I hope.
We do.
Thank you.
Certainly do. And it rings through to everything, the like, for example, the books, the physical quality of the books is higher, literally higher. So like from a collector's standpoint, it's easier to keep them in good shape, and they're still kept at an affordable price point. And the only ads inside of them are related to Ghost Machine. So there's all
that's another thing. Yeah. What
were you going to say?
Sorry. No, I was just going to say that's true that we don't have outside ads. Yeah, that's nice.
Sure.
If nothing else, then just from a purely aesthetic standpoint, that's really nice that we have control of the whole editorial inside. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And obviously it's Ghost Machine is like, it's the titles are individuals and individual titles, and we control them individually, but it still has this collective feeling. I think even if some of the books, even if it's probably very unlikely for the foreseeable future, there'll be a Red Coat Rocketfellers crossover, whatever. I think you can still feel that there's the same. They're infused with the same spirit, and I hope that means that people will be interested. People who are interested in one series will also be interested in picking up the same series. The other series, of course. I mean, that they'll find some of the same satisfaction from reading Rocketfellers that they're getting from Red Coat and vice versa, or Hornsby and Halo for that matter.
Yeah. So there are several different titles across the Ghost Machine network of books. If you could be a guest artist, no pressure, but which series would you want to be a guest artist on?
I guess at heart, I've always had a fondness for horror. So I think.
Oh, really? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think Hyde Street would be a fun thing to try my hand at. But on the other hand, Ivan has so much made that his own book, and he's still I mean, it would be very anxiety-inducing to try and step up in his footsteps, but it would be fun to try.
You could do another one of those, like Devour was a Hyde Street story, type of thing.
But right now, that's not going to happen because I'm just going to be doing Hornsby and Halo is quite enough. I have quite enough on my plate.
You're a very busy guy, yeah, for sure. Because you pencil and ink it.
Yeah.
And then John Calise usually colors it typically.
Yeah, we have John on, which is great because John is a fantastic colorist.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about John.
We actually, I've worked with John back in the day, but we actually picked him in a blind test where we tried out some different colorists, and there was just one that really jumped out, and it turned out it was John, which was fun because I hadn't been in touch with him for a long time. I think we worked together back in the Vertigo days or something like that. I mean, no, maybe I think he did some of the JSA.
Yeah, he did.
Probably. Yeah. So it was fun. It was like the team coming back together. But he's fantastic. I think this is some of the best work I've seen him done that he's doing on this series.
Seems like a pretty interesting person. Okay. So one thing I wanted to tell you also, though, when you were talking about that you hope that even though there's probably not like a Rook and Rocketfellers crossover anytime soon, that fans and consumers will understand that the brand essentially represents a certain level of creative quality and freedom. And I can tell you that from the fan standpoint, on all the platforms that we interact with, there's too many, but in all those, as the trades have come out, especially, and as the deluxe hardcovers have come out, especially, I think that the sentiment that, holy cow, like that's a very high quality. I mean, if it says Ghost Machine, it's a high caliber product. It's high caliber storytelling, high caliber art. Like it's it's like the best of both worlds from the early 90s, because Image was really good art and Valiant was really good story. But now in Ghost Machine, you get both. And I think that people are truly starting to just, like, everybody understands there's multiple universes, but you just associate Ghost Machine with high quality comics. And that's really exciting.
That is really, if that is what people associate us with, I'm very, really happy, because that is very exciting.
Yeah.
But I think, but totally justified, I think. And it's certainly what we're trying to do is just deliver the highest quality product that we can.
Well, I think that you're doing that.
I believe we've asked every creator that we've brought on this question, right?
Yeah.
So if you could have a drink and a conversation with any Ghost Machine character, what would your beverage of choice be, and who would you be having a chat with?
I think I would have to say that it would be Redcoat, obviously, and then we would have a beer, because he's lived through. I mean, he's got to be the one with the most stories to tell. Obviously, it would obviously be fun to sit down and second rows, but they're not old enough to go to a bar, so that can't happen.
True. But Rose might have a moment and make a fake ID or something.
Right?
Yeah, they yeah, Zach would probably know how to do that. I'm sure he would know how to do that. Yeah.
That's ironic, right? And that's because that's the dichotomy of, he would know how to do something like that because he knows how to pick locks and like jumpstart cars.
Yeah.
But his nature is contrary to that.
Yeah. He's my take on him has always been that he's like lowly stressed and depressed all the time, because he's got the good instincts, but he's always doing the stuff that he's not supposed to be doing, and I think that's taking a toll on him. I think he's always a little somewhere deep inside he knows that something's not right, but it's just it's the world he's grown up in. He just doesn't know any different.
Yeah.
Well, if it takes a toll on him and eventually he gets away from his wonderful parents and can maybe embrace his role as more of like a good being or whatever, that means he becomes nicer and less, likely to do illegal things. However, if that were happening to Rose's case, doesn't she need to be around her nurturing family so she doesn't succumb to her demonic urges?
Yeah,
like
I think Rose has a bigger problem because she's in a pretty good situation where she is. She's like a fox growing up in the hen house, in a chicken coop. She's fine where she is. There's no problems really that she can't fix herself. But what happens when the chickens go missing? That's going to be a problem, so to speak. Yeah, but anyway, I don't want to spoil anything. But there's going to be a story there, I think.
So if you were to tell Ghost Machine fans how long you intend to continue to create this story with Peter, like, do you have years in mind? Do you have an issue number in mind? Sometimes when Jeff and Brian talk about Redcoat, they say they know the ending, but they're filling in the in between. What's it like for you guys?
We have a long period worked out. Pete has a sort of roadmap for the next many issues, but it doesn't take us to a total end. It's not a yet. So, obviously, I'd just love to do this forever and ever. I'm awesome. Having a great time, and as long as we can keep making up ideas, and even if we got to a point where we're like, okay, these characters now they're sort of done, they can't develop anymore. There's always things that we can go back and do. But there's the spin-off ideas that we get along the way that we're like, wouldn't it be cool to do something? Wouldn't it be cool to do a Pepper and Tucker one-off? Wouldn't it be fun to do something with the kids when Rose and Zach when they were like really young? There's all kinds of development possibilities if we wanted to do that. But for now, we're just going to follow these characters to the logical end of the story. And it takes, I don't want to set it's silly to put a number on it like it's going to be 50 issues or whatever, because it's going to take whatever it takes. Sometimes we speed it up a little bit. Sometimes we're going to slow it down maybe, but we have a plan, but I'm not going to sit and put a number on it because that would be silly. That wouldn't help the story. And in the end, it's all about making the story right.
In perpetuity is a much better answer than a number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see a reason to stop doing this unless somebody tells us to stop for some reason, unless we, I don't know, the world ends or whatever. But for now, we just gonna keep going. First, we have plenty of ideas.
That's super exciting. So do you, and you probably can't tell us, but I'll maybe keep the question as like very vague, because we really want to like remind everybody, as we near the end of the interview, that this crossover just started. The $1 Trillion Kid just came out. The next issue of Hornsby and Halo is coming out when this episode airs in the end of June. And that's the second part of that crossover, because, we had the preludes, which were the 2 0 issues, which we were talking about earlier. We loved that issue. And then $1 Trillion Kid is part 1. And then your next issue of Hornsby and Halo is part 2 of the crossover,
that's issue,
right?
Yeah, that's Hornsby and Halo issue 14.
Yep.
Yeah, 14. Yeah. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Yeah. It's going so fast that sometimes I'm losing track of it.
Yeah.
No, because there's I'm over here trying to keep my part under control, but at the same time there's stuff happening, because there's the Rockefeller stuff, there's the Stefano is doing his stuff, there's a lot of moving parts.
Well, it's part 2 of this crossover, but you're getting to draw characters from the Rocketfellers, because they're we've seen previews of it. I'm not spoiling anything. We've seen the previews, and we know the characters are popping up from different things on social media. So how does it make you feel to know the brand has grown to the point where we're now drawing characters that are in another series? That's the next step for ongoing media. You're able to do that. So how does that feel, drawing a character Francis designed in your book, or having him draw characters you designed in his book?
It feels great. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It enhances the feeling that this is a collaborative effort, but it's also just fun because they're great designed characters, and I hope he's having fun. He's drawing Hornsby and Halo at the moment in the Rocketfeller crossover, and I hope he's having fun doing that.
So right now you've got this crossover going on, this summer crossover, very exciting. $1 Trillion Kid was part 1. Your issue coming up, Hornsby and Halo, coming out right when this episode airs, is going to also be part 2. Then part 3 is Rocketfellers, and part 4 is $1 Trillion Kid. And then obviously Rocketfellers and Hornsby and Halo are going to continue on. But there's so much cool stuff on that Unbelievables map. We got introduced to the Jupiterians in this just one panel in that 0 issue. And now we're like, oh my gosh, we want to know all about that. So with all those new characters and groups of characters, the Dead Tones that you mentioned, the Mad Ghost that Yvonne's working on, are there series coming out in the future, additional series? I know you probably don't know, but then also we can safely say we're going to see lots of those cool characters in your book and Francis's book with Peter on both, right?
Yeah, I think the idea is that some of them are obviously going to have their own series at some point. Miniseries probably, because we're not going to start new I don't think there's any plans to start new ongoing books. But for right now, it's like that in Hornsby and Halo, you have the band that pops up, the Dead Tones, which is going to be they're sort of it's just sort of integrating into the story of Hornsby and Halo. They're just going to be characters that come into the story, and they're there for a while, and then they leave again. And then what happens after that, I guess, is also it's a little in the air. It depends obviously on the audience reactions, I would guess. But we have a limited number of writers. It's not just a question of how many artists are we, but how much can we produce. There's also some guys actually writing this, and I can tell you they're working really hard.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
So we'll have to wait. Some of it we'll have to wait and see. I honestly don't know. Maybe there's some plans cooking, but I'm focusing on the stuff I'm working on right now, and we'll see. There's always the possibilities. I mean, some of the titles like High Street, for instance, opens up the possibility of doing separate miniseries. So there could be some stuff there. And I could imagine we could do some of the same, but it would have to involve, obviously I'm we joked about before that if I could do a crossover of one of the other series, what would it be? But obviously, I'm so focused on doing Hornsby and Halo, I'm not going to be doing anything else for the foreseeable future. So it would involve bringing in other artists if we needed to do that or something like that, and that brings in a whole different level of constraints on what we could do, and so that's. You should probably ask Jeff Johns about that.
Feel.
I think he's the only one. I think he's the only one who has the mental capacity to process all that stuff at once.
Yeah, the master chart. So
yeah.
We've mentioned the Dead Tone specifically a lot. Is there official first appearance then in your issue, next issue of Hornsby and Halo that's coming out?
I think it is. I don't think they've appeared before. I don't think so. They're in the guidebook, obviously, but I think this is their first real story that they're going to appear in. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! You better grab that book, Ghost Machine fans.
It's fun, and as we talked about, I have always had an affinity for horror, and this is a monster band, so it's going to be. It's not going to change the tone of the book. It's still going to be Hornsby and Halo, but it's going to be monster adjacent. I mean, and we've had some monsters in the book before. It's fun stuff. Yeah, it's also going to contribute to that thing I talked about with this feeling that Rose and Zach are going to move out into the world, and they're getting to know some new characters that they can learn from. Suddenly they're going to meet characters who share some of the experiences that they're going through. So they're going to have somebody that they can reflect, that they can see their own situation reflected in. That's going to be interesting how they react to that.
Other unbelievable beings or people can empathize with Rose and Zach's situation.
Yeah. It's going to be part of the story that Rose and Zach have grown up basically thinking they're the only. They don't know anybody else who's like them. Everybody else in their world is like except of course the actual opponents and Sydney, but everybody else in their world is just a normal human being. So this will be the first time they meet other beings that have problems that are somewhat similar to their own, and that's going to be an influence on them. Obviously, they're going to learn from this. Hopefully, I hope they're smart enough to learn from this.
Well, that'll be up to you and Peter, right?
Right, because for a moment there, we forgot that they're not real people.
That means you're doing a good job. So the Dead Tones, like you said, mostly monsters. Like there's a Frankenstein design that looks like Frankensteinian, I should say, design that looks like he's like the techie or moves their stuff around. I think there's like a female vampire character. There's also a Medusa character who's like she's got snakes in her hair, and we've seen a lot of that. So that made me wonder if, because Zach and Rose are part of one pantheon, the infernal and the celestial pantheon, as it were, and there's different symbology on some of the things that we've seen at Sydney's house, like on his tapestry type of deal. Should we, like, is part of their world expanding going to be that we're going to see things from like Greek mythology and like other things from other pantheons? Like Medusa made me think of that.
I don't think we're going to be totally hardcore about stuff like that. It's still a very, very much an inclusive world where we take what we need and we use it how it fits into the story. There are different philosophies of this. I myself am not super into that everything has to be tied down into one single mythology where everything fits into one big overall storyline. That I don't feel that it necessarily serves any purpose when it comes to the stories. I think it's important to have some wiggle room so when you come up with stuff. We're not building a new world religion or anything. We're not building a consistent mythology that's going to be. Maybe Pete has some ideas, but that's not going to be. That's going to be maybe in the background somewhere, but it's not. We don't have any. As far as I know, there's no plan of making like an overarching mythology which unites all these things into one consistent worldview. I don't think so, and I don't think it's necessary. Honestly, I felt I would feel hampered by that if we did that.
That makes a lot of sense because if you think about the subway as an example, and like the tube that they took to get to the non-conventional angel with a leather jacket, Chuck Taylor's, then Great Balls of Fire, that's all like a nod to things, right? Like Medusa is a nod to something, but it's more digestible too as a reader jumping into an eclectic world with lots of unique characters to know that it's not like restrictively defined. So I dig that.
Yeah, we're playing with stuff. It's you should take the characters seriously emotionally, but the world they inhabit is a playground where we invent what we think is. We're not going to do a Lost. We're not going to run into a wall and just drop the story or whatever. But on the other hand, I think we should have some room to invent stuff and just have fun along the way. It shouldn't be totally tied down and bogged down in continuity, like like we did with the original Ghost Machine presentation package, where we decided we had to change some things because it would have made sense the way we originally conceptualized some things. And we're not going to change things. Now we are in the book, it's running. We're not going to change things, but I don't want to go so much into detail that we get bogged down in stuff that we're suddenly stuck with that we can't change if we find out it doesn't completely come together. Then it's better to say, okay, this was in this arc and now we're in another arc, and then we have a Medusa, for instance, or whatever. We have a vampire, and sometimes we'll have other supernatural characters, but it doesn't have to come together in one big, consistent world view. I don't think so.
When we get to see behind the curtain like that and hear that, it's a lot more like we're not looking for spoilers. We're looking for that. And so we really appreciate it.
Thanks. And I'm also, because I know there's some people in the comics world that are really, really big on that. And I don't want to sit and diss that and say that's not important or whatever. I think it's important. I know people who get very, very angry about stuff when DC and Marvel does stuff that contradicts previous. And I think the readers obviously have a right to expect a certain consistency in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing like Ghost Machine, where it's us making the decisions, people also have to have a faith in that we are going to do what we think is right by the stories, and that's more important than building. I think world building is great, but in the end, what matters is the stories we tell. World building should service the stories and not the opposite of way around. That's my opinion. But I think there are people in the comics world who are obviously very, very big on world building, and for them it's a big deal. And I don't want to insult those people because I know it's a big deal to them. But to me, it's not. To me, it's the story that's the important thing.
Well, the beauty of what you're saying is you're de-emphasizing world building as your company is doing a massive crossover, announcing a new big world that you built.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
I get it. I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's a good point. But it's more like it's more like we're just putting up a lot of toys and putting a lot of markers on the board, and we're setting up the whole game. But that doesn't mean that you can't make up the rules as you go along. If that makes sense.
It's a character-driven world. Rather than
exactly
all the other things, like it's meant for fun and to see. I mean, gosh, we're so excited about the Invaders, y'all. That's the one. I want to know all about Invaders, y'all.
Actually, that would be fun to do. That would also be one I would think would be fun to do.
You would draw?
Yeah. I could get into that, I think. But yeah.
Well, we have one other question we ask everybody that is kind enough to join us on the show. And
so when you're not creating the pages of Hornsby and Halo, what do you do for fun?
It's very kind of you to assume that I have time to do anything.
That's not the first time we've heard that answer.
Now, what I do, I scuba dive.
Cool.
Sometimes, yeah. And, life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But actually, I mean, I always say that the great thing about doing comics for a living is that you make your hobby into your work. But the problem is also when you make your hobby into your work, then you lose your hobby because suddenly it's all work. Of course, I still enjoy this immensely, but it does take up a lot of time. we work a lot. That's how it is. But it's because we enjoy it. It's because it's what we want to do. So, but scuba diving is probably the one other hobby I have that I should probably spend a little more time on. But I have
What's
comics.
the craziest creature you've seen scuba diving?
I think the weirdest thing I saw was like I thought it looked like a zombie. What do you call them? The dragonfish. I think they called that in English. The ones with all the spikes, and it was so messed up. It looked like it had been. It really looked like a living dead fish I saw in the water, and it was creeping across, it was across the sand. It looked really weird until I realized that it was actually a big hermit crab that had just taken a dead fish on as a.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That looked really disgusting. But apart from that, I think some of the big eels. I'm not like a big adventure diver. I just do a little diving from time to time. But as the big moraine eels are those are some ugly. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
This can tell why you like horror, for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for indulging us. And we also want to recognize that we appreciate how much work that you do. We've heard this from other Ghost Machine artists and creators. We do know that very few people are writing all of these books, and it means a lot to us because it shows in the work, and that's why we've got these books on our pull lists, and we make sure to pre-order everything by the proper FOC date because we do not want to miss any of it. So it's truly a pleasure to have you on the show, Peter. We can't thank you enough.
And we appreciate you guys. I mean, in the end, it's because of guys like you that we are able to do this. I mean, and in the end, without readers, it wouldn't be any fun. There would be other practical problems. But every artist needs an audience. So we're actually doing it all for you, and it's really appreciated when you appreciate it.
We feel very fortunate for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to enjoy all of our other content, you can do that by visiting www.ghostmachinefans.com, where you'll find our social media platforms, our wiki, and if you'd like to join the conversation on Discord, you can find the invite on our Instagram profile, Ghost Machine Fans, or in the announcements on the Ghost Machine Comics Reddit.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans podcast.
Superstar podcast.